Well, welcome everybody. We have a very special guest today, Dr. Nerina Ramlakhan. She is a renowned physiologist, sleep expert, author, and a sought-after speaker with over 25 years of experience. She's written four books. The last one is Finding Inner Safety. The three other books are Tired but Wired, Fast Asleep, Wide Awake, and The Little Book of Sleep. So, Narina, this is a very important subject. We are finding that lack of sleep is a enormous problem. It's been estimated that 30% of adults experience short-term insomnia, 10% have chronic insomnia, and nearly 70 million Americans have some type of sleep disorder, including insomnia, sleep apnea, restless leg syndrome. And it can have devastating health adverse outcomes. We found that people that don't get enough sleep tend to be obese, decreased cognitive function. They can have more instances of depression and anxiety and chronic diseases such as cardiovascular disease, hypertension, and even certain types of cancer, breast, thyroid, colorectal, lung cancer. I really appreciate you talking about this subject. I've looked at your books, I've read your most recent book, and I can see that you have some unique and very effective ways to look at this subject. So thanks again. Maybe you could just introduce yourself, how you got into this field, and your books. And of course, we want to know about what people can do if they're having difficulty sleeping. And as you say, a lot about sleeping well is about living well. So again, over to you.
It's a real privilege to be here today to have this opportunity to chat to you. So, thank you very much for this invitation. So, where do we start? I mean, I think when you introduced me, you said 25 years, over 25 years. Yeah, it's been almost 30 years of helping people to sleep. So, I probably need to update my bio.
Right.
A long time. And it really started, I suppose, on a subconscious level. I mean, who knows why we do the things we do sometimes? But what led me to study physiology and then do a doctorate in neurophysiology and become obsessed with sleep. Maybe it was because of my own underlying problems with sleep, which had started from childhood. As a baby, I couldn't sleep, and that continued until my 30s. And it made me very ill. I became very unwell, and that was part of a whole series of other things that were going on in my life. But the end, at the end of it all, I couldn't sleep. I was extremely restless, and it was, I suppose, getting sick, becoming ill, and then going on a kind of healing journey, if I can use that very cliched couple of words there, but
Yeah.
I went on this voyage of learning how to become a better sleeper, and as I worked on myself, the science, my professional experience, my lived experience all started coming together.
Mhm.
And at the same time, as if by magic, I was being given opportunities to speak on stages and to help people to sleep
Right.
and to work with stress and energy and resilience. So, as I helped other people, as I helped people in the world,
Mhm.
from corporate to professional athletes to women recovering from cancer, children in schools, as I was given all of these magical opportunities to work with people, I continued to heal my own relationship with sleep. I now sleep really well.
Mhm.
Phase at the moment where I feel, gosh, yeah, I'm just sleeping very, very well,
Excellent.
despite having a far from perfect life.
Oh yeah, no one's perfect. Could I ask you, how many hours do you sleep per day?
Yeah, I have a wearable
Right.
that was gifted by a client for a piece of work I was doing, and we were measuring the sleep habits of. I will answer your question, but we were measuring the sleep habits of this NBA basketball player that you might have heard of, Blake Griffin, and we
Right.
were comparing our
Mhm.
sleep patterns. And at the time, I was very anti-measurement, and so, well, actually, no. Would you mind if we measure your sleep as well? So I was kind of dragged kicking and screaming into the 21st century world of wearable technology, sleep technology. But I don't really know how many hours of sleep that I've had. I mean, I could look at it now and I wonder what it would say about last night. And I probably had 8 or 9 hours, 8 hours or so of
Right.
sleep. So what does it say? It said I had, yeah, 8 hours and 6 minutes last night.
Oh,
8 hours and
perfect.
6 minutes.
Mm,
But my sleep efficiency, my sleep score was 91%. So I listen to how I feel in the morning. How do
hmm
I feel as a result? And what I'm feeling at the moment, despite the amount of sleep that I have been consistently been getting for months, I feel a little more tired than usual, which is telling me that there's something else that's going on with my energy. Am I needing to up my vitamin D? We're very grey in the UK. Do I need a holiday? Hell yes, I do. I haven't had a decent holiday for a few years. I've
hmm
been working very hard.
Right.
There's something going on there. So it's
Yeah.
not just about my sleep.
I like the idea of having an extra holiday. I'm going to have to talk to my wife about that. But anyway, I interrupted. So you're saying that you had an interest in this and you actually had some sleep problems yourself. What would you let's imagine somebody watching this video and they said, I really hope I can get some help with this sleep problem I've got. I go to
Mm.
sleep, I go to bed, I'm awake for 2 or 3 hours. I wake up I get up in the morning, I feel like I haven't had any sleep. And, what can I do about that?
Well, then I'd roll up my sleeves and we would get to work because already listening to that, it's telling me that the person is possibly measuring their sleep as well, if they think they're only getting 2 or 3 hours of sleep, or maybe they're looking at the clock during that, looking at their phone during the night. And that's one of the things. So I have a very practical methodology that I've been sharing with all of this range of different types of human beings I've been working with over the years. I have a step one to my sleep methodology, which I call the five non-negotiables, the five things that will help to reset your nervous system so that it becomes more accepting or more allowing of rest. Because so many people are running around in survival mode that, I'm sure you see this all the time with your work. You see people running in the wrong part of their nervous system, in
Mm,
the sympathetic nervous system,
right.
running on stress, fight
Mm,
or flight, adrenaline, cortisol. So I would recommend that they start with my five non-negotiables, which I'm very happy to share with your listeners and your viewers. But then when I work longer with people and with my own community, we start going deeper and deeper. And in my fourth book, which you so kindly read, Finding Inner Safety, I share a bit of my story there, which it wasn't a very pretty childhood. There was some trauma there. Um, but with my clients, what I do is I try and hold space for a deeper exploration of what is lying underneath their sleep problems. What are the stresses? What are the traumas, whether they're small t or big T, whether they go back to their childhood, whether it's intergenerational trauma, we go deeper. But I always start practically because when people come to see me, they're often very tired. They don't have the resources to deal with a failed relationship or the fact that they hate their lives or they're hating the work that they're doing. They just want some more energy. They want to be getting some decent sleep. So we start with the five non-negotiables. So number one, eat breakfast within 30 to 45 minutes of rising. Eat a nutrient-rich breakfast. And that means protein, fat, carbohydrates. Stabilize your blood sugar levels. Tell the hunter-gatherer physiology that you're living in a world that is safe. The second one is make sure that you're not relying on caffeine to give you energy. So I've had one caffeinated drink today, and that came after my breakfast, after the dog walk, and after the second mini breakfast. So my
mhm,
blood sugar levels are stable. I'm feeling calm. I've been exposed to my morning hit of natural daylight. My physiology is set up not only for the day, but it's set up to give me good sleep tonight. And then I have my coffee. So I recommend the second one being don't use caffeine as a substitute for food. Ideally, no caffeine or no more than 1 cup of tea or coffee a day, ideally before midday. If you're having any sleep problems. Number three, make sure you are well hydrated, aiming to drink 1.5 to 2 liters of water a day. Number four, get to bed earlier. So, use the intelligence of your physiology, which is designed around levels of light and dark in your neighborhood, in your area, in your environment, which are constantly speaking to an intelligent part of your brain called the circadian timer and the
mhm,
suprachiasmatic nuclei. So the light levels interact with your brain, these cells in the pineal gland, and they upregulate or they downregulate levels of hormones and neuropeptides, notably melatonin. So when you're getting into bed around 9:30, 10 p.m., preparing to rest, decompressing, you don't have to be asleep, but preparing to rest, that then sets you up to hit the sweet spot for surfing the wave of better sleep. So getting into bed earlier and not being on devices.
Right.
Get your devices out of the bedroom, get an old-fashioned clock, an alarm clock. Don't look at the time during the night. But throughout the day, cultivate a healthier relationship with electronic devices. Because, Nor having observed sleep problems and the rise, the epidemic of sleep problems, the sleep industry is worth billions of dollars, billions of
Mm.
pounds. Having observed this for 30 years, what I have seen is this relentless drive to get more done in less time,
Right.
driving us faster and faster, which is pushing us into that survival part of the nervous system. We've
Mm.
lost the capacity to rest. Before this interview, I lay on the floor with my dog beside me on a thin mat,
Right.
and I just closed my eyes. Now, the survival part of my brain didn't want me to do that.
Mm.
I'd picked up a distressing phone call from a loved one 10 minutes before I lay down. So I was worrying about my daughter. There was my inbox calling me saying, "You haven't replied to that person yet. You haven't done that one yet. You haven't done this yet."
Mm.
Possibly do. But I lay there and I just observed my thoughts and I observed my breathing. I observed the worry in my solar plexus and in my chest, which was forcing my breathing to want to go into the sympathetic. Just observed it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Slightly relieved at the end of that time because I was just like, right, now I can get up.
Mm.
But I have learnt that given my natural inclination to want to live in my survival nervous system, despite the work that I do, despite all this knowledge that I have, my natural inclination is to want to run in survival, actually, particularly when there's some external stresses going on. So I have to consciously make choices. And this is what I urge my clients to do is to use the things that many of us know because there are wonderful interviews like yours. There's lots of amazing interviews and information out there, and we know this stuff, but we're not always wise to it. Even people like me, you have
Mm.
to do it.
It's very interesting. So you mentioned a couple of things that I focused on. Eating a meal within, you said, 45 minutes of getting up, 30 to 45 minutes. Now, a lot of people, I'm not sure of how much you know about this concept of intermittent fasting, but
Oh, yes,
a lot
yes,
of
yes.
people skip breakfast. They might just
Mm.
have even one meal a day in the evening. Are you recommending that people don't skip breakfast? Okay.
Totally, especially for women who are in perimenopause or postmenopausal, where your nervous system is already a bit skittish and you're running on higher levels of cortisol as the levels of estrogen and progesterone are just it's all over the place. And so I experimented with intermittent fasting last year
Mm.
for 5 months. I loved certain aspects of it. I loved the fact that I could get into clothes that I was wearing
Right.
30 years ago
Mhm.
that's been sitting in the wardrobe.
Right.
Maybe I should declutter. I
Mhm.
love that. But hell, it made me more sensitive and it did mess around with my sleep a bit. And I'm noticing this with a lot of my clients, and not just women who are going through hormonal shifts, but I'm also noticing this with corporate employees. And I've been noticing it for over 30 years. It's been a lot of fasting going on. It's been nothing to do with the autophagy, with the apparent, with the renowned health benefits of fasting. They were fasting, inverted commas, because they were running on so much fear because of the corporate timetable or
Yeah.
because of the lure of the call of the inbox and the adrenaline and the
Mm.
cortisol and the next coffee shop, just cafe popping up on the corner. Oh, I'll just grab a coffee on the way to work. I haven't got time to eat breakfast. So the fasting thing has been happening for a long time. Now, where is fasting wonderful? You go on a retreat somewhere. You're in your parasympathetic nervous system. You're already in rest and restore because you're in healing mode. And you're on a retreat and you're being looked after and you're able to rest and you're able to meditate. You can walk in the mountains, or you can go and have your cold shower, or you can go into dip into the lake or whatever. And then your diet is very carefully structured for you, and you've got your juicing and you've got all the right greens and you've got your enemas and your cleanses. So you're in the perfect setup to use the benefits of fasting. But when we're running in, this a lot of the first world, running on adrenaline to the corporate timetable, to the dance of the inbox demand,
Mm,
actually it's probably the opposite of what you should be doing. So what I ask my clients to do is join the dots. Okay, so you want to know if fasting is a good thing. So, are you having difficulty getting to sleep? Sleep initiation. Are you having difficulty staying asleep? Sleep maintenance. Are you having non-restorative sleep? Yes, any of those things. Then make sure you're hitting those macros with your diet. Then we might get into some gender differences. So for men, there is a lot of compelling research that shows that fasting and then pushing some heavy weights and then really getting your macros afterwards, there are benefits to doing that and you can gain more muscle. But for women, and particularly as you go into the later years, perimenopausal, menopausal, where we are postmenopausal, where we are fighting, I put we there because I'm in that category, we are fighting to retain our muscles. It's very important that we eat a bit. If you look at the work of people like Dr. Stacey Sims, human performance physiology, a
mm,
lot of research in this. And, if you want to listen to her interview with Professor Andrew Huberman, she'll talk about this. Women are not small men.
mhm.
Actually, we behave differently. Our physiology operates differently. Eat something, get your protein and your fat and your carbs in the gym. So I'll be doing that tomorrow before I go climbing. I'm 60 and I still climb, but I know that I have to sleep strategically and I
Mhm.
need to give myself the right kind of nutritional aids to ensure that I can still maintain performance.
Yes, I think, I always say pretty much in everything, look at the outcome of what you're doing. People say, well, is this a
Yes,
good thing or is
yes,
that a bad thing?
yes.
I mean, obviously, if you're not getting a good outcome, it's not a good thing. So change things around and look at the outcome. Now, the other thing you mentioned is stress, and I think what we really want is peace of mind, and it's nice to be able to put your head on the pillow. You've had a nice days of work. You've done some good things, and you put your head on the pillow, and you have peace of mind. I think that relates to stress, and I'm sure maybe you can come back and talk about stress management techniques because that must be a lot to do with your work. Maybe just give us some quick stress relieving tips if you like. I know that you said that
Okay.
you have your pet, you enjoy that. Some people enjoy yoga. There are so many things that you can do for stress. And, I say to my patients, learn to relax. That's easier to said than done. But how do you
This is it.
encourage people to relax more?
Yeah. The way you start your day is so important. So if you're going to try, I mean, there's a whole host of things, and it's the reason I've written four books. Sorry, there's a reason why. There's a lot in there. I have learned a lot, I have explored a lot, and I practice all sorts of things as well myself, as well as recommending them to my clients. But let's just start. It can be overwhelming, and the wellness world and the mental health world, it's exploded, particularly since COVID,
Right.
where people are just needing help and there's more wellness experts out there in the world and we're flooded with information. Where do you start with it all? You
Mhm.
wake up in the morning, you think, should I be doing breath work? Should I be doing cold shower? Should I be doing yoga? Should I stand on my head? Should I? Anyway, let's just start simple. First 5 minutes of the day, don't reach for your phone because hopefully you've listened to our interview and the phone is now no longer in the bedroom.
Right.
Even before you open your eyes, be present with what is here right now. So I recommend to my clients, I do this myself. You put your hand over your heart, or you put one hand over your heart, one in your belly, and just keep your eyes closed and observe where you are. Now, what do I mean by that? You used the word peaceful. I love that. It's one of my favorite words. And I think you're right, Noor. All we're really looking for is peace at the end of the day. Now,
Mhm.
we think that's, if we have the fancy car or millions of dollars in the bank or the amazing house or relationship will bring the peace. But actually, fundamentally, at the core of it, that's a whole other subject. Maybe I'll come back and talk about peace. But in every moment, I believe it's an opportunity to listen to what's going on. If you listen to the speed of your thoughts first thing in the morning, it will tell you whether you're in peace mode or
Mm.
whether you're in fear. You
Wow.
just listen.
Mm.
Attention. Oh, that's interesting. I
Yes.
can hear my brain going, bam, 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 bam. I gotta do, I gotta do.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. The second thing I want you to know is that you can't always listen to all that this is telling you. The brain has a negativity bias, which predates us. It goes all the way back to the days of being a hunter-gatherer. We're still running on the hunter-gatherer reptilian brain in many respects. The brain has a negativity bias, which, roughly 70% of your brain is set up to make you think that the world is unsafe. And it's going to give you a lot of negative stuff to think about. So you wake up in the morning and there will be a stream of consciousness around, why are you lying here like this? You don't have time to eat breakfast. You need to go and do this, and think about your daughter, and think about your elderly mother, and think about the dog that needs to be walked, and think about this. That's just my life, by the way, you
Mhm.
know?
Mhm.
And so you go, well, that's interesting. Hello, reptilian brain. You can chunter away in the background. That's a very British word, chunter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Chunter away in the background,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to buy into your story. And you try and ease yourself using that other 30% into feelings of compassion. And one of the things I do is if my brain is racing like that, I'll go into gratitude mode, and that's the easiest way to fire up the positivity bias, those positivity neurons in the brain. Thank you for my pillow.
Mm.
Thank you for that amazing night of sleep. I hadn't even looked at my data yet, but I know I had a good night. I
Right.
don't even remember getting up during the night. Thank you for the space that I have.
Yeah.
Thank you for the little dog beside me. Yeah, I can hear her. She doesn't sleep on the bed, but she sleeps in a basket beside me. Thank you for that. And I give thanks. Thank you for what lies ahead. Thank you that I have this interview with Noor later on today. What give thanks for? And just breathe into that feeling. Notice your breathing. And that need only take, doesn't even need to take 5 minutes. Can you find one thing, two things, three things in your day that you're grateful for? And at the very least, can you be grateful that you have a roof over your head and a
Mhm.
pillow to lie on?
Yep.
Chances are, if you're listening to this, you have.
Yeah.
Okay, a lot of people in the world don't have that.
All right. Have to
Don't
work
have
on
that.
solving. So, your last book, I see a chain. Your first three books were more about sleep. Your last
Yes.
book doesn't have
Yes.
anything about sleep. It's more about finding inner safety. And I mean, I agree with you, especially in America. People don't feel safe anymore. A lot of
No.
Americans are paranoid what's going to happen.
Mm,
They
mm,
like their guns. They're very safety conscious over here. They don't. It's got a lot to
mm,
do with anxiety and uncertainty. And I liked what you talked about in terms of the sympathetic nervous system because, anxiety is really not a very helpful emotion. It's really designed to get us out of danger. A sympathetic response. A wild animal is uh, is
mm.
is after you, or someone's running after you with a knife. I mean, we tell us these ourselves stories that mostly are lies. So I think, yeah, stress, uncertainty. But anyway, I wanted just to ask you, how did you transition to your last book, Finding Inner Safety?
Yeah. Thank you. That is actually a stunning question. Thank you so much for asking me that, Noor. So, finding inner safety represents uh, decades of yearning to write about what I really wanted to write about, but the world wasn't ready for it because they wanted books on sleep. I was considered to be somewhat of a trailblazer, you know, 3 decades ago, talking about sleep and stress and things like that. And in many of the corporate environments I was going into, the world just they weren't just ready. They weren't ready, and the doors were closed. But they had a duty of care, and there was health and safety legislation which was saying you've got a duty of care because people are getting sick in this work environment because they're working too hard. So all of a sudden they needed to invite people like me in to come and speak. And I remember the first time I was in a magic circle law firm,
Mm.
and I used it, just shot out of my mouth. We sleep when we feel safe.
Right.
We sleep, and there were about 500 people in that room, and I kid you not, you probably could have heard a pin drop, you know? And I noticed that people went like that, and I noticed that a lot of people wrote that sentence down. I thought, wow, I've stumbled on something. So this was almost 30 years ago. So I then, every time I was approached by a publisher, because I've been very blessed, and publishers have approached me, which is wonderful.
Mm.
And every time they said, can you write a book for us on sleep? I said, yeah, but can we talk about safety? And that those bits of it would get edited out.
Right.
I knew that really what we needed to do was to get to the core of what was causing people sleep problems. you wanted to get to a point where you could invite people to have conversations to explore their relationship with safety, but not just safety, inner, what's inside us, inner safety. You're
Mm,
quite right. In America, less so in this country, but definitely in your country, and I feel for you guys, there is a pervasive feeling of lack of safety and fear and anxiety. And I'm not here to say, let's bypass all of that and be all, aromatherapy oils about it. No, I'm very much a
yeah.
feet on the ground, practical person. There are scary things happening in the world and in the USA, for sure. But I also want to urge your viewers and listeners to maybe explore my work and explore your work and listen to your other guests as well. And to open up their minds, to get curious about, is there something within us? Have we been designed as hunter gatherers with also a natural propensity for realistic optimism, for the ability to thrive if we make the right choices, for a natural innate tendency to feel safe? It is wired into us, along with that also natural ability to feel unsafe, because that enabled us to not be extinct as a species. But we've also got this other part of the nervous system which says, actually, my world is safe. Yep, there are horrible things happening out there. There are worrying things. There are chaotic things inside. If you meet yourself those few minutes in the morning and then regularly, I mean, I would recommend that in today's world, given the state of our world, everyone should have some form of contemplative practice, whether it's mindfulness or journaling or prayer or faith or meditation. Hell, we all need something that enables us to come back to ourselves and sit with discomfort, as I did half an hour ago, sitting with the discomfort, and I found a place in myself that said, she has her journey. She will be okay.
mhm.
She needs to go through this to strengthen her nervous system.
Right.
This is her learning. But if I'd just gone straight from the trajectory of phone call with her to mother worrying to helicopter parenting to let me just bang out some emails before I get on here with Noor, I probably would have met you today in
Mhm.
a state of anxiety rather
Right.
than actually feeling quite trusting and feeling pretty peaceful.
Yeah.
She's it. She'll be okay.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I and how can you be found? I'm going to put your website up. You're available for, is it telephone consultations, or how do you
Well,
actually, how do clients connect
yeah.
with you?
Yes, well, my website there would be great. Social media at Dr. Nerina. Um, I do a lot of big keynote presentations, large groups of people, festivals, wellness festivals, retreats. I work one to one with people, so jump on the website, send us an inquiry if you want to. I have a growing community of people where monthly we meet, and I take them on deeper and deeper and deeper dives. Many of them will have gone through the five non-negotiables. They might have been on a 6 week program with me. And now they're going deeper in their journey. And I'm just seeing the magic that unfolds as they find that safety to do the real work. And you said anxiety is unhelpful. Yes and no. It's if it's telling you need to run away from a threat and you amass the resources to do it, it's helpful. And also, if you keep meeting it every morning and there's that anxiety going on, maybe the helpful element of it is, I need to do some work on this. I
Hmm.
need to enlist the help of a gifted therapist or someone like Nerina, or read that book and do some deep inner work on myself so that I could free up within me the spaciousness to start living that peaceful, enjoyable life. Because that's what happens when you do that work. That's
Yes.
the gift.
Well, I
Thank
want to congratulate you on this last book. I think you're doing some excellent work because
you.
dealing with sleep issues is extremely important, and we're finding that, things like stress, sleep, gratitude, all the things that you've mentioned are extremely important rather than covering up the problem with a medication that usually don't work very well. And we're going to put your information up, and hopefully they can contact with you for one-on-one consultations, maybe some corporate events. But I really admire the work that you're doing. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Noor. It's been a privilege, and thank you for your very insightful questions. I've really enjoyed chatting to you today.
Okay. Thank you.